All right, here we are with Katy, and we'll be working on Katy's Jupiter in Sagittarius in the first. So, Katy, you said that, you pointed Jupiter out yourself and said that you have many examples of that already. Why don't we start with just one?
I think I've never ever seen no as an answer to any question. So I have in my mind an exponential possibility for me and for everybody to do anything. So I've been, I used to be an investigative journalist. So I used to go around finding stories. I investigated dictators, countries, people, corporates for a long period of time. And there was never anybody that I couldn't get access to purely through calling them up, turning up outside their houses, knocking on the door, going through various people to try and find out information about them, taking them for lunch, buying them lunch and getting what I needed. And I've always kind of landed on my feet. And I know that's a very general, quite like braggy thing to say, but I've always been shocked, because I'm a pretty careless person. Like I'm really chaotic and very disorganized. I never set anything up or plan anything to succeed, but I've been incredibly lucky that always at the last minute I've landed on my feet. And that's been professionally, emotionally, and just sort of going about the world.
Okay, having an international career, there I feel the Jupiter very much. Also the optimism that you don't take no for an answer and you just keep doing whatever it takes. I'm feeling the Jupiter a lot now. You brought in the Venus very strongly for me.
Yeah, so I seem to have a lot of access to people, and without necessarily, people are always surprised that I'm able to bring people together or invite a celebrity or a senior person to an event and they come. And I'm not surprised because it's something that's always happened to me. So it's something that I've always been able to do. And it sounds really braggy on here. It's not like that. I've got many faults in my chart and in my life, but it's that anything is possible. And back to the international thing. I mean, I travel a lot for work, so I travel every week, and I'm always on a plane, and I feel most myself when I'm on a plane or when I'm landing in a new country and I'm exploring a new city or meeting new people. And okay. I never felt that before when I was younger.
Oh, okay, let's get to that in a moment. I'm feeling your sun coming up pretty strongly now on the ascendant in Sagittarius, that you're flying, traveling, often, constantly, feeling well when you're in new places, right? Because the sun kind of represents what you do and how you show up and what you live, like where your focus is, where your awareness is in Sag on the ascendant.
Yeah.
And approaching Jupiter, right? Very strong. Mm-hmm.
I feel most at peace and most myself when I'm on a plane or in an airport or at a train station or alone in a new country, and very much by myself, not so much with other people. But I travel so much for work. I mean, I travel weekly, and then I do the job I do. I work as a headhunter in energy and climate change, and so all of these countries that I go to, they're all over. So I go to Canada and Africa and Australia and Cape Town and so lots of places in Europe and the US and San Francisco. And I just get a lot of jet lag, but it's when I'm in my prime is when I'm traveling.
Okay. That makes me think about that a lot of your chart is happening in the sextile between Libra and Sagittarius.
Yeah, but that's only since I become an adult. So since I went through my Saturn return, I felt like a lot of my chart was happening in my Cancer moon when I was a child, I think. Because I was a lot more frightened, anxious, homebody. I was scared to leave the house. I had a lot of phobias. And then after my Saturn return, I kind of went through this thing where I became much more international, traveling all the time, really independent. And so I feel a lot more that that Venus Jupiter, whereas before I felt this constant clash and anxiety between Cancer moon and obviously all my Sagittarius characteristics.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
One other, so one other thing that was significant to me is I had a lot of paranormal experiences as a child, and I had basically a presence that was with me throughout my childhood that was neither good nor bad, but it was a constant presence with a very clear sort of spiritual signature, and it wouldn't come. There was no pattern around when it would come, but it would always be. It was very frequently around, and there was a feeling to it. So I would know that it was there, and it would. The odd things would happen around me. I had a bit of poltergeist activity around me with my teens. With
What
things
kind of activity, sorry?
like poltergeist activity.
Poltergeist.
So when I was a teenager, there were periods where I would set off alarms and stop clocks, and we'd have voices coming out of electronic toys and things, and it was quite a stressful period of time. And then I recently spoke to somebody who was a spiritual communicator, and he said, you have someone who's been with you all of your life, and she's also called herself Katy, and she's the same age as you, and she looks like you, but she just lives in the spirit realm. So he was implying that I had this sort of twin that was me, but not in human life. And he was saying, she's this person that's always been coming into your consciousness as you've been growing up. And, she's got a lot of opinions about how you're living your life. She feels that you don't listen to her guidance. And I said, well, I feel her presence, but it doesn't always feel like a very settling presence. It feels quite unsettling. And he was saying, well, maybe she's looking like you in order to make you feel settled, but maybe it is something else underneath. I know this sounds crazy, but it was interesting as a reflection on what my childhood experience was like, that I was always being stalked by this entity or this spirit or whatever it is.
But not anymore.
She's come through a few times, so I sometimes wake up in the night and I know that she's there, but I'm a lot stronger these days around boundaries. So I'm very, very clear on I'm trying to be more clear on the limits of where I end and other people and other things begin. But that only really happened after my Saturn return. So when I was 29 and I went through my Saturn return and got married and started having kids, the spiritual experiences became a lot more containable and controllable for me. But they were just all over the place when I was younger than that.
Okay. I
realize we're not talking about a particular placement here.
Oh, it doesn't even matter, because to be honest, what you're talking about is still Jupiter. Like having out of like extraordinary experiences is the nature of Jupiter. And it doesn't matter too much because it's fun to put all the planets up. I think it's much more educational. Like in your case, when you started telling me about the poltergeist activity, I immediately feel the Sun-Uranus conjunction on your ascendant.
Yeah.
Like that you had disturbing things happening around you, like electrical shortages and sirens and alarms going off, right? So that you always feel that you're kind of crazy, or you're having these supernatural experiences. That's super Sagittarius, right? Seeing beyond the veil, Jupiter, right? Like the otherworldly things. And I also really felt how your Jupiter is conjunct the South Node. And in fact, Mercury is right there as well. So this makes me think about this apparition that is following you. I don't know what I really felt about her. I don't have a good enough feeling for her yet, or it. But I felt it in these three together, that you're always in contact with another being, and other
Yeah.
people don't see it. And so you're having contact that's very distant or difficult for other people to understand. That's coming
Yeah.
up from you.
It was like that. You know the film Candyman?
I
So
don't
when
know.
whenever there's this spirit called Candyman that haunts people, and then they go crazy, they get put in a mental asylum. And then because everyone's like, you're crazy, you're not being haunted by this spirit. And then the moment they like lock the door and walk off and the person's left in the cell alone, like Candyman comes and he like bears down on them. So it was like every time I would tell people that this was happening to me, and people were like, don't be stupid, like you're crazy. And then as soon as they were out the door, it would come. And then it's just so that was very typical of my experience of it.
So you would have conversations with this entity.
Through feelings and like telepathy. So through I don't know if you ever had this. I don't know what your chart is. I don't necessarily, it's not necessarily astrological, but I would be sitting alone, and then I would know that it was coming and it was gradually forming. And then I would know exactly where it was in the room. So it would be an intensity of energy somewhere over here. And at some points I would see like gray mists, or things would start going off. Like I used to have this Father Christmas toy that sang Jingle Bells, but instead of Jingle Bells coming on, it would be a conversation that I'd had earlier in my house. Are we still connected?
I'm listening. Yeah.
Oh, great. Sorry, just because your pitch keeps going. And it was me, the toy was playing something that I'd said earlier in the house. So it was my voice having a conversation with someone. So it wasn't playing what it was supposed to play. And then I would be, sometimes I spoke to the spirit and I would ask it questions, or I would be angry with it sometimes, because it really felt like it was following me and stalking me. And I could feel, when your hair goes on edge and you feel like there's static in your hair. And sometimes I would receive responses through my mind from the spirit.
Okay. Are you feeling the Mercury,
sorry.
Jupiter, Sagittarius in what you're describing?
Yeah, I don't know Mercury as well as a planet, though. I'm not as familiar with it because I've always had just a bunch of planets in Sagittarius. I've kind of lumped them all together, but I haven't distinguished between.
I get it. Because Mercury is the communicator, right? So it's about who you're interacting with and what you're interacting about, right? So and then we'll obviously get, because for example, Mercury, Jupiter, meeting with heads of state, international heads of state, and interviewing them and having very high level, very high intellect conversations where you need to have very, very breadth of knowledge. I'm imagining that on one level, but you can also see it like Mercury, Jupiter, Sag, like talking with apparitions, being haunted, having ghosts around, having supernatural psychic communication, Mercury, Jupiter. Right, so that your communication channels are way more open, way more vast than most people, right? So telling other people, hey, I'm having this experience, and everyone doesn't believe you because it's just so far away from them, what you're seeing. And I'm especially feeling the South Node. I can't really explain that, but just that you're being haunted by this entity feels like something deeper is connecting you. And I can't make sense of it because I haven't talked to you enough, right? But I just feel the South Node with the two of them. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, there was lots of past life stuff going on for me in my early years, and the connection to the past life was stronger then as well. And I know I'm sounding vague, very Sagittarius Mercury, but it was something I knew rather than something I could express in an understandable way, if you know what I mean.
Totally. Yes. Yeah, you're also just like listening to you, because I talk to a lot of people, and you are just such a good storyteller. And I feel how when I'm listening, you're kind of sending me up. There, I feel your Mercury, Jupiter.
Sending you up.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I have to move. like my mind usually rests here, but then you're kind of bringing it up a level. I can't really describe better than that for now. Um,
I like
if
that.
you
Do
if
you
you said
believe
that,
me about the spirit?
of course I believe you. How wouldn't I?
Well, you may not be. I mean, I get a lot of cynicism from people about it, and it's definitely not a world that I can coexist with my business world. So I,
Ah,
if I walk into
interesting.
a meeting and even talk about any of these experiences, everybody thinks I'm crazy. But a lot of my awareness of business dynamics is driven by the sense that I have of these spiritual concepts.
Oh, how interesting is that? Huh.
Yeah, so I always know what people's intentions are, both in terms of like being managers of other people. So I deal a lot with teams and I place a lot of CEOs in businesses, like in big businesses, and I can always tell whether they're going to be good at their job. I can always tell how they feel about somebody or a group of people. And I can't always explain why I can tell, but then, you know, a situation will play out with them as a
Ah,
leader, and my company will come back and be like, "How did you know that they were going to have an affair with their secretary, or how did you know they were going to defraud the company, or how could you tell that they were going to inspire this person enough for them to give them a deal that changed the revenue of the business?" And I always feel like I know, but I just can't always substantiate it to
okay.
people or
I
to other
want to say
people,
something. Can I
like
say
really.
something about that? I'm getting excited. Okay. You can see that the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction is in your first house in Sagittarius.
Yeah,
Okay. So you're the one to have this intuitive, psychic foresight, knowing.
yeah,
Okay. It's connected to Venus in your 10th Libra, where this for me is all the people management that you do front facing as a manager, as a colleague, as a person relating to your bosses or to the higher ups, whatever, in your company.
yeah,
Right. So for me
yeah,
here, the Mercury Jupiter is like there's the psychic in you, and that is what helps you do really good business, understanding like the energetics of people.
yeah.
That makes sense when you see them connected?
Totally. And I'd never really connected them before. I
Okay.
would always see them as like separate parts of the chart. Like here's my emotional side, here's my public side, here's my spiritual side.
Right. They work together. Yeah. And you'll
Yeah,
see even more. I mean, think about it. You're traveling often for work, you're going to different countries. Obviously, people are speaking different languages, you're interacting with different cultures, you have to have some sensitivity about the different energetics in those places.
yeah,
And, it's all around the relationship work, meeting with heads of state, throwing various events, meeting people for a lunch or a dinner, having these super expansive conversations with them, right? Inspiring, talking about plans for the future. Do you see kind of how they work together?
yeah. I love it. I love it.
Okay. There's one thing that stood out to me. You said that earlier in life, you weren't too much in that Jupiter. And I was like, okay, let's go earlier in life and let's find that Jupiter. So in the first place, you showed it to me when you talked about the apparitions, like having something that's haunting you. I immediately feel Jupiter because that's the nature of Jupiter. It's the other world, right?
Yeah,
Expansion, when you go beyond just the physical realm and you're
yeah.
able to interact with things that are, spiritual, energetic. So we can get into more of that. How was your family where were they in the totem pole? How did you interact with them? Were they very educated
No, I
or
mean
religious or spiritual?
my mum was extremely fearful of anything spiritual. So she had like she wouldn't put it like this, but she had a very strong fear of the devil. So she was always aware of dark things in life, and so was kind of superstitious about talking about anything like that. And
Mm.
she also felt this presence that was following me around, but she just reacted very fearfully to it. And so a lot of my childhood was shaped by her constant fear of bad things happening. And she always used to associate bad things with sort of religious, spiritual, superstition type events.
Okay, just pause right there. Immediately, I feel the Mercury-Jupiter South Node.
Ah,
Because think about it, there's so much emphasis on spiritual, religious, superstitious, bad things. Again, it's the Jupiter.
yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
can you maybe just illustrate a bit more, like to what extent that was a part of your life, and what are some of the things she would say or do that you just remember constantly?
You mean in terms of my mum?
Yeah.
I used to want to tell people, like I really needed to tell people what was happening to me. And I'm an only child. And so I lived in the countryside in the middle of nowhere in a very rural location. And I didn't see my friends very often because they were a long drive away. So the people that I was trying to relate to were my parents. So I would tell my mum about these things that were happening. And she used to have panic attacks. She used to one point I told her while she was driving, and she veered off the road and we like crashed into the bush because she physically couldn't contain the things that I was saying to her. Like she just couldn't deal with it. And she wasn't able to cope well with any of the spiritual experiences and things that were happening at home or to me. And she's never been able to do that.
Very interesting. Okay, so do you feel the Jupiter there again?
Yeah,
That
it's
you're
like too
trying
much
to
for
tell
her.
her and explain to her all these things, and
Yeah,
but for me also what's very strong in this case is like the Sun Uranus, right?
yeah,
Because you're constantly experiencing something that's disturbing, at least in this case for your mom, that she doesn't know how to handle.
yeah. And
Okay.
it's also perverse. Like it's kind of it's yeah. I mean, there's an element of it that feels kind of like intrusive to me and to my parents. And it was like I was doing it to them, that I was bringing all this energy into the house, and it was causing all
Uh-huh.
these problems and all these like electrical disturbances and things moving around and voices, and then I was validating it because it was happening to me. But it was, and to them it felt like, because they associate religions, they weren't religious, but they had quite a religious mindset. It must mean that I was like doing satanic stuff when I wasn't. I was literally just being a normal teenager.
Okay. So you see the Sun Uranus, right? That you're the one
Yeah,
that's causing these disturb, and it's always like, I guess the subject of conversation is what is Katy doing and how is she behaving, kind of Sun Uranus. And
and yeah, sorry.
uh, and no, go ahead.
And I suppose it's the attitude of like, oh God, here she comes again. What's going to happen now? Or this, something's gone wrong. It must be her fault, because we wouldn't put anything past her. Like we wouldn't, and not just my parents, but my teachers as well at school. And anything's possible in this situation. Like she could have, if it's raining, maybe maybe she did something, or but not that I'm magical, but that I just by showing up, I'm causing it.
First, just in that right there,
I didn't hear that very well. What did you say?
I said, do you feel the Jupiter in the first house in what you just shared?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That people thought you're capable of anything, you're controlling the weather, you're who knows what Katie's doing, she's supernatural.
Yeah. They also took it as quite seductive. So they thought I was, and this is also a 10th house Venus thing. I was very ambitious as a teenager. And so I used to walk up to people and talk to them, whoever they were. And I think people around me thought that it was me being somehow solicitous or seductive to people, talking to strangers. And, I used to call, if I'd meet somebody really important, I'd make up a nickname for them and then call them by their nickname or the nickname I'd made up in my head. And it was like I was sort of over friendly, over solicitous of people. And that was terrifying to my parents, which, I would also be terrified if my daughter now grew up and started, going up to men and calling them, if they're called Richard, calling them Dick. And if I did stuff like that. But I'd feel the same way if my daughter did it now. But I was just really precocious in that sense.
Okay. Do you see the Mercury Jupiter Sagittarius?
Yeah.
You're so open and talkative and friendly, and then the connection with Venus, right? Just anyone can be a friend, anyone you can connect with, anyone you would like to learn more about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the part where you especially said like about being very, very ambitious as a teenager, there I feel the Sun Mars, especially, and with Mars on the midheaven in Libra, that feels like also when you talk about like you're traveling and you're investigating people and you're pursuing them essentially, and you're trying to get any information about them. Even if you think about your position now as a headhunter, right? Headhunter, Mars, right? But it's Libra because you're looking for people that are going to fill a position.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and I guess
it's more passive though. I'm not in my, in my communication, because Mars is quite passive in Libra, right? But it's not, maybe not passive, it's more kind of peaceful. It's a peaceful but persistent approach to people.
Yes, and I'm also thinking about when you get access to someone through their connections. So it's like the ladder, right? First you talk to this person, they introduce you to that person, they bring you to this person, you meet with that. There I feel the Libra activity and the introductions.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I was pretty shameless about intros when I was younger. I remember a friend of mine's dad had got a job for her at a some kind of agency, and she didn't want to do it. He was very wealthy. She didn't want to do it, and so I knew when she was going to turn up at the job the next day. I knew she wasn't going to go, so I just went instead and took the job for her because I wanted it. And she was very transparent about it. It was very Sagittarius. I said, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it because that's a great opportunity. And so I just went and did it. So I used the connection that she was going to have and just did it, but not in a dishonest way. I would never, ever step over somebody's dead body to get to something. I'm a very, very loyal friend.
Okay. Do you feel the Sun Mars especially in that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's square, isn't it? Is it Sun square Mars?
A sextile, but the sextile square doesn't matter too much. What's most important is the signs that are interacting and the planets that are interacting.
Right. Yeah.
In this case, we have the Sag and Libra combination.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's another couple things that stood out to me. One of them is like, okay, you guys were quite a far distance from people when you were in the small village. That makes me think about your sun in Sagittarius kind of like in the 12th already, so that you have to go a long distance to get anywhere. And then Saturn being in the 11th, that at least in that first part of your life, you didn't really have access to the world. You didn't have access to your friends. You had to relate mostly to your family. Saturn came in very strongly for me, but also in the fact that people were kind of cautious about you growing up, that you're like, this person, they're not too sure, like, what is she doing? What is she capable of?
Yeah, I did not have a friend group. I didn't find it easy to make friends. I was very isolated. I used to play a lot of imaginary games and play with all my sort of spirit friends and animals and things. And then I had my Saturn return in Scorpio in the 11th. And I got whatever friends I did have, they all left me. So I basically had no friends when I went through that period. But then since that, I've started to have the kind of relationships that are really meaningful, and I know how to exist within a group. I know what my role is, but I was very, very lonely as a child.
You said you played with your spirit friends.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of imaginary friends and imaginary animals, and I would have whole days where I didn't see anybody, not even my parents, and I'd live in an imaginary world.
Okay, because remember you said that now you're living the Jupiter more than you did in the past, or that your Jupiter activated like once, like past. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now do you see how Jupiter was playing in your early life? Because now you're telling me the other you had imaginary friends, Mercury, Jupiter, Sag.
Yeah, yeah. I just never realized that Jupiter was part of this more spiritual thing. I thought it was more Neptune in the first, was more around the kind of lack of boundaries with other realms and things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that part as well, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Mercury Jupiter so close, and also the South Node being there. The South Node is actually coming very strongly for me. Usually I don't bother with the nodes, but in your
Yeah.
case, I don't know, it's coming up pretty strong. Um, I feel it, for example, where your parents are especially afraid of like demons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that being like a huge subject, and you having these natural spiritual talents, like this access that is for other people completely foreign, but here you are having completely opened that portal from a young age.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
There were also a lot of secrets. Like they were afraid of the demonic, but I never really understood why. So I couldn't really get into why. It was sort of an unspoken thing. There were a lot of unspoken things when I was younger with my parents. They would have reactions and thoughts and very strong feelings, but could never justify why they had them. And very extreme
Interesting.
feelings, religious, like sort of moral and ethical feelings about things.
Okay, that's the subjects of Jupiter: religion, morality, ethics, philosophy, understanding of life, perspective, vision about
Yeah.
things. Yeah, that's all Jupiter. So there were these like really strong religious themes, especially around you and
Yeah.
you as a communicator, right? So Jupiter, South Node, Mercury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. What were your parents, what were they doing? Who were they in the community?
They were teachers, so they were teaching at the local schools that in where we lived. Um, yeah, they
Okay.
were, they
Okay.
were stand-up individuals.
Stand-up individuals?
Like members of public representatives.
Okay. So there again, I start to feel the Mercury Jupiter, the teachers, together with Venus in Libra, being part of the public with all the relationships and knowing people. You said it was like a small town that you grew up in, is that right?
It was a village. It was about 400 people
So they were teachers in the village or teachers in the city,
in the nearby town, which was about 1,000 people.
which is where you also went to school.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Were there like religious undertones in the like community where you grew up?
No, there weren't really. I mean, there weren't. It wasn't like a religious community. My mum had a lot of religious undertone in her upbringing.
Okay.
So she has all my mum's planets are in the eighth house in Virgo. She doesn't have the only thing she hasn't got in her eighth house is the Chiron in the 12th. So she's an all Virgo chart with Chiron on the 12th. So my mum had a very difficult upbringing. I'm not very aware of what happened to her, but she did instill a, a very strong superstition and fear element to my life.
Yeah, you have a lot going on in Sagittarius.
Mm.
That
Yeah,
especially makes me think about the superstition, the religion, the fears around that, talking with spirits, like all the supernatural stuff. Besides, the other like more common Sagittarius themes of travel and exploring the world and adventure and whatever else. Were you a big reader as well?
yeah.
Yeah,
And still a big reader. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel you're reading like really high level, like even scientific article, but also just like interesting podcasts and stuff?
Yeah, I'm a big consumer of interesting concepts.
Okay.
Yeah, and like historical books about history and lots of fiction.
Fiction,
I would,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So no, big, yeah. I love that stuff.
Okay. You see that in the Mercury Jupiter as well, right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
just didn't realize these planets meant all these things. I thought they were just all individually represented something in terms of Sagittarius, but I didn't realize that that conjunction was working all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Did you have like I don't know, book clubs or something, like people you talk with about the books, or you share about, or you write your reviews or something, or you talk to the authors and write them a letter?
When I was younger, no, but when I was in my early 30s, I was on the judging panel of a big book prize. So I would have to read all of the long list. So I'd have to get through like 50 to 60 books in like 6 months. And to be able to
Oh,
judge and put forward why they should win or not win or win the money prize and stuff with a group of,
how brilliant is that? Okay, so do you see that Mercury, Jupiter, Sag reading 60 books in a time span of 6 months? Like the
yeah,
immense, the voracious amount of consumption of information? Yeah.
yeah.
But it's connected to Venus in your 10th Libra. You're doing that because you're the judge on the panel.
Yeah, I would need to have a position like that in order to do it. It's partly motivated by that.
Makes me think about you, yeah, just seeking information in general, oftentimes like going to the library, talking to people, trying to understand, like taking like a big interest actually in listening to people and the stories they're going to tell about something, asking a
Yeah,
lot of questions. Yeah.
you have to do that as a headhunter as well, right? You have to find out everything about somebody before you put them into a role, or make them the CEO of a company, that
Mm.
kind of thing.
Oh, so you're doing also like high level headhunting, like executive suite.
Yeah, it's executive search, so it's only CEOs and boards of companies, which is also
Ah,
quite Libra Venus.
yes, but it's also Mercury, Jupiter, right? Because Jupiter, the highest level, plus Sagittarius, right? For a company to
Yes.
grow, to expand, to
Yeah.
find very intelligent people. Okay. So you're used to talking with like the upper echelons, kind of.
Yeah, but not in a braggy way, just in a yeah, and I'm used to understanding and picking up quickly what they're communicating about and then playing it back to them.
Yes. Okay. Do you hear the Mercury, Jupiter in that as well?
Yeah. I just didn't realize it was such a strong conjunction.
I know
Is
it.
it because
Huh?
I'm not so like I wish I knew more about astrology. I know enough to be slightly dangerous with people who don't know about it, but is it because the degrees are so close that it makes it such a close conjunction?
Yes.
Right.
But even the sun that is like kind of a distance from them, it's very important that the sun is also in Sagittarius. Because if you think about the motion of this, 16 days after you were born, the sun would conjoin your Jupiter.
Right.
So the sun by sign already emphasizes the sign and all the planets that are there, because the whole story of your life becomes about what's happening in that sign, because that's the nature of the sun. It puts the
Yeah.
focus of your life in a place. All the planets that are picked up by that are become very important. But yeah, the closer the conjunction or the aspect is, the stronger it emphasizes in your life. But and in your case, you can see it's not just Mercury, Jupiter, it's Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, because they're all
Yeah.
around the same degree. So
Oh, I see.
literally, huh?
Oh, I see it. If they're all around the same degree, they're more closely tied together.
Exactly. And also you can see that Venus is at 16. She covers exactly the gap between Mercury at 15 and Jupiter at 17. So these
Oh,
three are a
interesting.
package deal,
Oh, wow. That's so
right?
cool.
Yeah. So for example, again, you can see Mercury, Jupiter, Sag. You're talking to people about really high level concepts and you pick them up very quickly. Your mind is very fast, Mercury, Jupiter, Sag,
Yeah.
on many different subjects.
Yeah.
And you get the chance again and again and again to have those high level conversations with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always like you're reflecting the information back to them. You're building a relationship. You're talking about plans. You're discussing contracts. You're relaying also like what would the job be? What is the hire? Like what is the company actually looking for? Right. So the
Yeah.
Libra part of like building the bridge, being in between.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's funny how it all comes out like this.
Right. What up? Do you
Yeah.
have a personal life, or is your life like really centered around your work and your career?
Yeah, I have a personal life, but I'm a very different person emotionally and personally. Like I give my Cancer moon. I have 3 kids and I'm obsessed with kids and animals and pets. And, I really like in my private life, I like to be very nurturing. I'm a very nurturing person.
Okay.
Um, and I got divorced, so I'm a single mum. And yeah, so I look after the kids by myself, but I pay for everything for them. And yeah, we all live together in a flat here. But another Libra Venus thing, all of my relationships, like romantic relationships, have been through work. I meet everybody at work.
Even your ex-husband or the father of your kids,
Yeah, not him. He was the
or
only one. He was the only one I didn't meet through work.
okay. Do your kids ever accompany you at work, or are those like parts really separate?
Very separate. Yeah, yeah,
Do you sometimes have to, I don't know how to explain. It's like you have meetings with the people, that are very professional, and then there's the kids kind of, and you have to juggle the two.
yeah, yeah. They're very different worlds. It feels like night and day, and it's hard sometimes to integrate it into my life because it's no, neither world knows the other. I couldn't, I can't communicate to the kids about the type of work I do or why I have to be away, why I have to travel. And then I can't communicate to work about the side of me that is hidden because they don't really see it. They see much more what you're talking about, the Mercury Jupiter conjunction. Whereas I have a whole home life that is like completely different. And people sometimes see me as that when they see the two sides, they think I'm inconsistent, but I'm not. I genuinely am a different person at home than I am at work.
Okay, I'm feeling like the moon in Cancer squaring the Venus, like the two different sides of you that don't really meet. That part is kind of opening up.
Yeah.
Because you travel so often, do the kids stay with their dad when you're away?
No. So they stay with a nanny or sometimes my parents help.
Okay, I'm feeling the eighth house there
Yeah.
because your kids are being taken care at least part of the time by a nanny or by someone
Yeah.
else. So you kind of really put your trust in that person.
Yeah. 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 It's a difficult tension that I have around that. They, it costs a lot of money, first of all. And so
Oh,
I'm funding that through the left side of my chart, right? Which is trying to make as much money as possible and make all these connections and stuff. But then I'm sort of I'm just throwing money away into this eighth house to try and make sure that the kids are okay and they're taken care of. And
interesting.
yeah, but it's a real tension for me. It's not something I'm comfortable with. I want the two sides to integrate, but it's just really hard to have them integrate.
Are you an educator? Do you play a lot with your kids? Like have fun and go out and do different things and take them places?
Yeah, well, I am. I mean, I'm quite irreverent with them. So we're very silly. I'm very silly with the kids. And I've been told I'm more like a friend to them. I act like I'm their friend rather than their mum. I'm definitely not a disciplinarian. I don't really believe in
Okay.
hierarchy at home. And so that they act like we're all friends, which I like because I was an only child. I never had any company as a child. So I like having this sort of gang of siblings slash children.
Okay. Do you feel the Mercury Jupiter in that as well? Do you reverence the fun, the wildness,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
lack of hierarchy, the goofy and silliness?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They don't, you know, we don't go to bed at the right time. We go out at night. We kind of walk around. We do lots of like random, quite whimsical stuff together. Yeah.
Okay. Do you teach them as well, like different languages? Do you tell them about your travels? Do they look at like the different places where you've been? You tell them, oh, this is like this place.
Yeah. Yeah, they're interested in different countries. They're interested in the supernatural. We listen to a lot of like haunted podcasts together and things about hauntings and houses, and they're quite comfortable with all of it just because I'm comfortable. And we
Okay.
do little rituals together. And yeah, we make wishes and we ask God or whoever to help us with things, but not in a strict religious way, and like a whoever your God is, whatever you believe in kind of thing.
Okay. Do you see the Mercury Jupiter Sag again?
Yeah.
Making wishes, talking with God, listening to supernatural podcasts, being very open about things, talking about different countries,
Different
Mercury
cultures,
Sag
different religions.
cultures.
Yeah. I also spent in my 20s, I spent about 4 years going to India for 6 months a year and meditating and doing what you do in India, like drinking your own urine and stuff, because you believe it's like the body's like regenerating itself. And, you know, I'd love to do that with the kids at some point, I think. Not the urine part, though, just the meditation part.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Very good. Let's pause there for today then.
great. Well, that was exciting. I can't believe you've been doing this for so long and I've never listened to it. This is the kind of podcast that I would have on constantly.
Oh,
But I
really?
just don't understand how it's not I've not come across it.
Well,
Do you
I
advertise
will say that
on
I've been doing the podcast for about 3 or 4 months, so it's very recent, but the volume I'm doing is really high, right? I'm doing like 5 or 6 meetings a day. This is actually
Wow. It must be
yeah.
exhausting,
Well,
right?
I just love it. I love it is. Sometimes it's tiresome, but it's so interesting learning about different people, different charts, and this is the way to expose my work, right? Because it's hard to get your name out there nowadays. There's just so much going on. Um,
Totally.
and I love talking to Jupiter
Totally.
people. Go ahead.
I can't, you've frozen for me, but that's because of my connection, I think. Um, I was thinking, so the reason I was attracted to your post is that I was, when you posted about it, is because I was thinking there's a real market here and getting famous people to talk about the things that are bothering them and like how they're showing up in the world and having their chart up at the same time and just sort of saying and doing the same thing, but just with somebody very well known, especially at certain points, like when prime ministers step down or when somebody doesn't get the CEO of a company, when especially some of the CEOs that I interview, I really want to see their charts because I want to know what it was in their chart that made them a leader in this respect, or if they reacted really badly to the rejection of not becoming the CEO, what it is in their chart that is showing they don't take failure well. And there's a lot of like themes in that. So I was thinking maybe he's going to do that because that's a podcast I want to listen to as well.
I would love to. That's one of my ideas, but I don't know how to meet those people, and I don't know if they would be open to having their, talking so openly to the public, because there's also a level of like, they maybe are not as open to sharing because of their position. But I would love to work with famous people, and I think I can do a really good job, exactly the way you described it. So yeah.
Mhm. I even got to a point, there was King Charles's cousin she's called Princess Xenia Holenho. She's descended through like the royal family, grew up in all the palaces in England, and she's at the moment she's trying to become the CEO of a company, and she has a big 12th house stellium. And I said, look, surely, you know, you want a bit of promotion around your reputation as a business person. You know, would you be willing to talk about life growing up in palaces as part of the royal family, and now your ambitions to be a CEO, and why you keep failing and why you think it is? And she thinks it's because of her 12th house planet. She says that she doesn't come across as a natural leader because she has this 12th house stellium, so everything's hidden. And she was like, oh my God, I would love to do that. I really, really want to talk this through with somebody. And I don't mind it being public because I'm ready to be transparent about it. So I think stuff like that's like fascinating.
You're blowing my mind. Of course, I would love to do that. Yeah, that's one of my dreams. So you're to say.
That's great. I hate that my connection is so bad. I'm really sorry that it's so bad because I keep missing. You keep going out of connection with me. But I heard, I did hear it very well.
Okay, good. That's good enough.
Okay, are we going to go? Because I can't see you or hear you very well anymore.
Also the internet, why is the internet like this? Maybe if I open this door. I don't know what to do. It's okay. Oh,